In the early hours of a July morning in 2015, a group of dedicated engineers set off in their four-wheel drives with a caravan and trailer in tow for a special excursion to Cape York. This was to be no holiday, but rather an engineering exercise as part of a program to test suspensions and couplings they had designed and built for the caravan and camper trailer industry. The Australian outback and the roads which get you there can be some of the toughest, most extreme, most unforgiving and unrelenting in the world, testing man and machine. Welcome to the 2015-2016 Rat Run program, conducted by Vehicle Components. On test will be the Cruisemaster ATX and the Hitchmaster DO35 version 3. Vehicle Components and its remote area testing program is like no other.
2009, when we started the Rat Run program, we realised that off-road campers and off-road caravans were becoming more and more popular and more heavy. And we needed to be able to be sure that the products that we were making would be up to the conditions that these guys would be taking them in.
We're also seeing that customers are more confident in taking their caravans off-road into places where they might not have ventured previously.
This has resulted in us learning a hell of a lot about these remote areas and what's required and the intricacies of the design required for heavy off-road use.
What it means for us is that testing becomes even more critical. We've always had a strong testing and engineering background with our Cruisemaster XT, but with these new changes and the evolution of the market, we're finding we're having to go out and test things more to the extreme, knowing that customers are going to be doing the same things with their vans.
A new prototype suspension was to be tested, the latest addition to the Cruisemaster range. The ATX was the toughest suspension yet developed by Vehicle Components and was designed for large caravans and camper trailers to go seriously off-road.
Until someone has been out into the real world conditions in Australia, they have no idea what it actually takes to develop a product for those conditions. So we take our engineers out, they are the people in the driver's seats on the rat runs, so they firsthand know what the products are going through, and when they're sitting in front of the computer in 3D modelling, they have a better understanding of what the thing needs to be able to survive.
We have developed a series of test trailers that we use. We put Motec race measuring equipment on the trailers, and we take the parts out and we take them to the harshest conditions we can actually find. So we can test shock absorber temperatures, G-forces on the suspension, ride in the vehicle, and we can analyse that and we can take that information back and we can improve the product even more. So when the product finally comes to the market, it's the best it possibly can be.
The Vehicle Components team of engineers set out to put the new suspension through its paces in some of the harshest country in Australia. This was the suspension's first major test, and the engineers were hoping they had got it right.
About 100 kilometres south of Cohen, we got some of the worst corrugations that we've ever come across on the Rat Run.
We found that the testing locally doesn't meet up to the demands of the Cape.
Immediately we realised we had some issues with the suspension subframe, and we had very high temperatures on the shock absorbers.
The shock absorber temperatures on the rat trailer were running a little bit high. We've been over some pretty extensive corrugations here. And as the caravan pulled up, Andrew noticed that the subframe holding the suspension was actually coming loose. So we've pulled over and had a better look, and we've shaken 3 bolts out of the frame. So a bit of luck really that we've noticed that.
We got through to Cohen and decided that it was a good time to replace some of the bolts that we had broken along the way, and we also welded the subframe onto the chassis in a few areas to keep us going.
We had issues with shock absorbers where they're positioned and the loads going through them were way too high. We blew shock absorbers up. We had issues with the suspension holding camber in heavy corrugated areas.
The job of the shock absorber is to control the suspension arm travel or the wheel travel. The idea is to keep the wheel in contact with the road surface at all times, and that's the primary job of a shock absorber. Obviously, when the terrain becomes corrugated, that becomes quite a challenging task. So shock absorber has to do a lot of work.
As the team ventured to Cape York at the top of Queensland, they sought out the most difficult and demanding roads or tracks to get there. Having returned from the Cape with data in hand, the engineering team had to re-evaluate the ATX design and make some modifications based on lessons learned, especially from the extreme corrugations on the roads to the Cape.
After that, we learnt a lot and brought it back. We found even more when we stripped the suspension down to inspect it, and that resulted in us redesigning a few of the critical components on the suspension.
When we design a suspension, there's a lot of components in there that all affect one another. So to change something or move something not only affects the part that you may be trying to improve or modify, but it has a roll-on effect with lots of other parts in the suspension. So we say there's no such thing as a small change.
And then the team went to the top secret Anglesea proving grounds with the XT as a benchmark to test the latest design changes before they would take it back to the Cape. The 2016 Rat Run would be the ultimate test for the ATX, and with it the Hitchmaster coupling, which was about to get its first Rat Run treatment. The 2016 Rat Run team once again set off for the Cape to prove all problems had been fixed, and so to make sure, they took the infamous Telegraph track to test the ATX and the new coupling, the DO35 version 3. This track is hard enough for a four-wheel drive, yet alone towing a substantial trailer.
One of the benefits of Cape York is being able to go via the Telegraph track up to the tip. And not only is that breaks up the monotony of boring roads, it also gives another dimension to our testing. So going in and out of the creeks exposes the coupling to water. It's more than just water ingress, it's washing the dust into the vital components.
The 2016 Rat Run would be the ultimate test for the ATX, and with it the Hitchmaster coupling, the DO35 version 3.
Having a 2-ton trailer behind you, trying to get through the Telegraph track adds a whole new dimension to things.
Additionally, the loads imposed on particularly couplings going in and out of creeks is quite high, as the weight of the trailer is transferred into the coupling instead of through the tyres on the ground.
All of maybe 300 metres into the track before we hit the first major obstacle, people in cars not towing trailers were turning around, and it sort of hit the point of no return where we were there to test. We had to just go for it. As per release ATX, the one that's in the market today, it was fantastic. I knew it had the wheel travel, it had the performance to get me through, and it was just a matter of ensuring the vehicle didn't roll, basically. Thing with the test trailer is it's purpose-built to be, sort of worst case scenario. It's high centre of gravity, short track width.
Features on the Telegraph track are harder than others. So a couple of creek entrances and exits, winches were involved, track building was involved, putting logs and rocks under tyres were involved. There was a particular spot, I think at Cockatoo Creek, where we got the trailer into a bit of a situation which we thought might end up with it on its side. However, with the experience in the team that we have there, who've done a lot of rat runs and a lot of this type of four-wheel driving, we got through without an issue. Braden's excellent behind the wheel, getting it through situations, and I'd rather he'd be in the driver's seat. And Dion's got years of experience in recoveries and things like that. So we've got a really good team now who we have great confidence we can put them in any situation off-road, and we're going to get through it without much of an issue.
This track is hard enough for a four-wheel drive, yet alone towing a substantial trailer. On the way back, they made a small detour along the Burke Development Road to Normanton. This would be the longest and remotest test yet.
It wasn't until we hit the Burke Development Road and started getting 100 or 200 kilometres into that and still another 500 to go, you start to realise just how remote you are and how far away from help you are should something go wrong, which again, it reinforces the importance of why we test these things, because if you have a problem out there, help is far away.
The coupling performed faultlessly. We tested on a daily basis, and then on our return back to base, we stripped the coupling completely and inspect for any sign of defect, and it passed with flying colours.
Both products in the new DO35 and the ATX proved themselves above and beyond. The majority of the towing I did was actually with the ATX suspension. We had a trailer loaded up to its capacity of 2.8 tonne, and to be honest, most of the time it was hard to remember that the trailer was even sitting behind us. I actually tried my hardest to get it out of shape to try and make it misbehave, but that thing just towed awesome.
Meanwhile, the design team had been working on another project, the Cruisemaster GT, a touring suspension designed for on-road use. This also needed to be tested. Once back from the big trip to the Cape with the ATX signed off, the engineering team took the GT on the road for a big lap all around Australia. A caravan was fitted with GT and the new Hitchmaster DO35 version 3. The team also managed a detour to Uluru for good measure, as well as a week at the testing grounds at Anglesea in Victoria. After 3 years of design, prototype construction, field testing, and then 3 major trips into the toughest country Australia has to offer, the ATX and the version 3 of the DO35 coupling are now in full production and available to customers. It's taken thousands of man-hours to bring these products to the market through possibly the toughest testing programs in the industry. Thanks to the Rat Run program, caravanning around Australia is now a lot easier and a lot safer.
Once a year we will do a major rat run. That might be anything from 10 days or even more, a couple of weeks. And every day the vehicles will be doing mileage. We'll be getting up early in the morning, and we drive all the way through to the night, and it's relentless for that period of time.
The Rat Run program by Vehicle Components has been since 2009 an integral part of the engineering and manufacturing process for the best suspensions and couplings available today in Australia. Every customer who puts an ATX Cruisemaster or Hitchmaster DO35 product on their caravan or camper trailer and intends to go off-road can have the confidence that these products have been continually tested in real conditions. So one day, when you're hundreds of kilometres from anywhere towing a large caravan or camper trailer, confronted with washed out roads, corrugations, creek crossings and all kinds of conditions that test man and machine, in the back of your mind, the engineers at Vehicle Components may well become your heroes.